You know something, you would think that with all of the weak and cowardly things that black people in the media have said in the past week, that blacks would be better at.
Better at what?
Detecting when a black person is actually speaking up for them in their defense. I mean, think about it. Terrence Howard, Charles Barkley, Lee Daniels, Common, Kerry Washington, Raven Simone, the newest hip-hop wench Llaila Banks, and the list of others who have been on the Scoon Festival. You finally have a black man who speaks up, and they missed it. I am talking about Isaiah Washington, of course.
Oh, you mean when he said to adapt? I took it as making the necessary adjustments, like when on the football field, when you read the defense and you are close to the goal line. What does the quarterback do when he sees that a change needs to be made in order to get to the goal line? They call what is known as an audible in the play, make a change. To get to the goal line. This will keep you from losing yards and going backwards.
Bingo, but Sambos like Lee Daniels, Stephen A. Smith, Llaila Banks and others are helping white supremacy by making sure that black people lose yards on the drive. There are no plays that they have written to get to the goal of justice and black empowerment. They support yard losses. Isaiah Washington is simply saying, let's change our strategy to get to the goal line. Now remember, this is the same man who was demonized by his situation in Grey's Anatomy, so he was an easy target. Then on top of that you had our henchmen such as Deborah Emery, who took out parts of his words and changed it up, looking as if he said the same as the other Sambos that I named. Then on top of that, a black puppet by the name of Yesha Callahan continued the foolishness.
Who is Yesha Callahan?
Some black puppet who works for the blackface division of the Washington Post called The Root. You know something, he spoke about Chris Rock's situation, about how he has been pulled over multiple times recently. He put out a tweet about buying a Prius. But when he went to speak with Don Lemon about the situation,
I obviously have a slight advantage because I'm a celebrity, and during the day, I have an advantage because hopefully they will recognize me. But if they don't, at night, I am, I'm vulnerable like everyone else. But I will say this, since I got out of my G500 and been driving a Prius for the last 4 years with windows that are tinted darker than the windows that were tinted in my $90,000 vehicle,
so
I have not been pulled over one time.
You haven't been pulled over. What should Chris Rock adapt to?
There's something happening in his community or wherever he is on that road or coming in and out of whatever that terrain. They're looking for something. They're policing something. And the timing, either good or bad, I think the timing for us to have this conversation is that it's good timing and bad timing for all of us, because they're looking for something. Obviously, they're not looking for Chris Rock. Obviously, he hasn't broken any laws, and what you drive shouldn't matter, particularly if you're an African-American man. But if you are at war, which we all know that we are, there is a sentiment in the air that is highly toxic and highly negative. And what I was doing by that tweet was doing exactly what I wanted it to do, is excite a conversation that if we're looking at this term black and we're looking at this term driving while black, maybe we need to really look at the term black itself and start having a different kind of holistic conversation. That's what I've been going.
I want to understand when you said buy together, but I want to know, what would you have Chris Rock do? What does he need to change, and why does he need to change?
I really feel that he needs to look at the area that he's in, and maybe even visit with the local police officers in that community, because I got pulled over so many times. They should have had memorized my driver's license plate at that time. So he should do that. He should reach out to the local police officers and question why they're pulling him out specifically.
I know, I understand what you're saying. It puts a burden on him that's not a fair burden. It does that. that burden is not.
Oh, come on, Don. We're Don. Come on. We have been a people that created civilization in this world, and I believe that we are a people share the DNA that's going to re-civilize this world again. Mm-hmm. We've been burdened for 400 years. We can't just use that as an excuse to say that, well, we can't challenge the system as it is. We've been marching for years.
Okay.
He has to take a stand and get those officers' numbers and find out why he's being pulled over. But we are in a situation where we have to survive under extreme circumstances where people are angry, and for those who are practicing white supremacy, they're at war, and they're on the hunt, and they're angry, and they want some kind of restitution and retribution. So we have to really go about the business of having some serious conversations on how we survive and how we need to continue to survive. And yes, the onus is on us not to rehash respectable politics. That's not what I'm talking about. But if we don't survive, then we don't live to fight another day.
He took a big stand and mentioned that blacks were at war with white supremacy. How many of the coons that I mentioned were willing to do that? I will say this, black people better figure out real fast who their enemies are, from within and on the outside of the community. It would benefit blacks to get their own media that truly represents black issues. Not some blackface division of a white-owned corporation like Blackface's Oops I Mean Black Voices, The Root, The Griot, Boss, or any of those other brain cell-reducing anti-black media companies. And also, if blacks don't begin to recognize when someone from the community is truly taking a stand, then don't complain when your other black celebrities don't speak out if you don't defend them. You only give more boldness to handkerchief-headed sambos like Charles Barkley, Terrence Howard, Raven Simone, Azealia Banks, Lee Daniels, Yisha Callahan and others. Other black celebrities who have been quiet will remain quiet, because black people, you must remember, it was not the celebrities who led the charge in the 1950s. Or even in the 60s, they came along to join the movement because they understood that there were those in the grassroots who represented the people. The Anti-Defamation League is not full of celebrities, but they have power which will keep celebrities in check. So does GLAAD, La Raza, need I say more? If black people don't stand up for Isaiah Washington, then you might as well invest in a coon train your goddamn selves, because more passengers are gonna jump on that. Especially when they see black people not taking a critical stance and punishing them for their foolishness.